All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Monster, episode 29.
And Johan, like, the knowledge about him is starting to spread.
It is. Like,
yeah. But he's messing around with some stuff. He's been killing some people. He's been busy.
Yeah.
Like,
he's orchestrated the deaths of a number of Schuwold's old connections, friends, acquaintances, and such co-workers. Right. In order to isolate Schuwold for this whole scenario. However, Johan is starting to amass some enemies on the other side. We've got Richard, the detective guy. We've got the counselor guy. We've got Dr. Gillen from the previous arc bit with Tenma, his old competitor in university or college or what have you. And then Tenma himself along with Dieter and all the others. Anna and such, so it's getting a little bit dicey for Johan. If Tenma arrives in Munich with any kind of help, essentially, and any of these people are still alive at that time, things could get very, very interesting.
They could get very interesting
because Tenma's coming to kill. Like, Tenma isn't coming for, with the justice system in place and everything.
No, he's terminating with extreme prejudice, hopefully with a sniper rifle at 1,000 yards.
I mean, given on how he's resolved himself, that's what we have to go on. We don't know what will happen when he actually sees Johan again, because we know how Johan's influence works. It's
and
terrifying.
There's the whole, split personality thing that he's seeded in Tenma's mind, whether true or not. So who knows what that will change.
I wonder if we'll see any more evidence of that during this whole story arc here.
Possibly.
Which we haven't really seen any of in particular. So it's curious. But guys, this is crazy stuff. Probably one of my favorite story arcs so far in Monster.
So good.
So without further ado, let's get into this. Double Ranger kick.
Wait.
What?
Wow.
Oh my god.
Oh, and then then it cuts to the weed hacker.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Johan. Wow. Oh, he's back at the cafe.
Oh, execution.
Execution.
Wonderful.
It could be execution of a plan, not necessarily someone getting executed.
Yeah.
ローゼマリーはこの冬は風邪ひいたりしなかったかい?
Oh.
あ、そうだ。
She's starting to see hope, you know?
あの子に見せてやってくれ。例の連続殺人犯の少年を僕が撃ち殺した時の新聞の切り抜きや報告書の写しだ。あの子には本当のことを知ってほしいんだ。
わかったわ。
いつ会えるかな。
もう一度あの子に聞いてみるわ。ずいぶん戻ったわ。
え？
あの若々しい刑事になりたての頃みたい。
Cool.
But is this all just build up for when he dies?
私たちが知り合った頃みたいな目に。
そこをなんとかお願いしますよ、リーベルトさん。
今の保険で十分ですよ。
Oh.
これ以上保険料はないし。
Yep.
4年前引っ越してきた時に加入したばかりなんですよ。
ところで奥さん、お子さんは？
ああ、息子なら今。
こちらが息子さん？可愛くてらしたんですね。お名前は？
ヨハンです。
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Oh, they're doing the sound thing again.
Staticky scratching.
成長してヨハンの顔になるとは思えない。
はい、こちらが出生証明書です。
ああ、どうも。
何度言ったらわかるんですか。この役場は禁煙です。
そう固いこと言わないで灰皿くれよ。
ダメです。5年前にここは火事になったでしょ。書類が全部焼けて大変なことになったでしょ。
Oh crap!
書類を作り直したんですか？
個人申請で作り直したんですけど。
So that's why the university's gonna burn down to erase his presence from having ever been there.
Right, exactly.
Oh, okay.
お久しぶりです、ライヒワイン先生。
ドクターテンマは君のところに現れてヨハンという男を探していると。
Things are converging. This is so good.
何の根拠もありませんでした。
Yep, yep.
頼むよ、ドクター・ゲイレン。
はい。
Oh my
題して
gosh.
ユルゲンスの面会の許可を取ります。彼にこの写真を見せて、その反応次
Oh
第では
yeah.
ドクターテンマの無実が証明できるんです。
Hopefully he
Awesome.
doesn't like try to kill him or something.
Oh, because
Or
he's
kill
triggered by
himself.
seeing the,
You know,
the
yeah,
image.
yeah.
He's alone out here. And it's in a graveyard.
Yeah, I know. And like the sun's starting to set.
Johann Liebert. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So it's just another family with the last name Liebert.
どうだい、飯でも。
あ、いや、ちょっと私戻らないと電話がかかってくるかもしれないんです。もしかしたら娘と会えるかもしれないんです。
おお、
大丈夫ですよ。大切なのは前に進むことでしょ。
Yes. Oh, he's gonna die soon.
I know. Oh, watch. Picks it up and calls cut short.
Oh. Oh.
ローゼマン。会えるとも。いつでも会えるよ。
I hope it's soon. Oh crap. Oh crap.
リヒャルトさん。
Oh crap.
この青年なんだがね、ユルゲンス。見覚えないかい？
知らないな。
Whoa.
Oh crap.
ボールペン貸してくれない。
No, 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 no.
No.
悪いが君に物を渡すのは禁じられているんだ。
ボールペンを。
He's whoa.
Yep.
公園だ。もうやめよう。もうこれっきりにしよう。そう思いながら公園に行った。子供をいっぱい連れていた。
Wait.
テープを回すの忘れていた。もう一度最初から。
君もおいでよ。君
Yeah. Oh, crap.
No. Oh.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
ヨハン・リーベルトです。
And the way they still have the distorted like
いらっしゃら
background.
なかったので
Yeah.
直接伺いました。
ただ、ライヒワイン先生、彼の自殺は明らかにヨハンの写真に反応したためです。
Yep. Oh
But he colored in Johann's hair
Right.
as if he had black hair at the time or dark hair. That makes it seem like he was in disguise.
1989年に国連で
Oh, they're at a bar.
子供の権利
They're at a bar.
Oh crap.
お酒はいかがですか？
No.
いや、私は結構。
そうですよね。お酒に酔った勢いで例の少年を
Executed.
処刑したんですか
Wow.
ね。違いますか？あなたが撃ち殺した少年、シュテファン・ヨース17歳。
So he's building guilt.
彼はどんな罪を犯したんですか？
レイプ殺人9件、殺人未遂2件。
8歳未満の者が犯した犯罪に対して死刑及び釈放の可能性がない終身刑を課してはならないというのは、
私が彼を撃ったのは処刑なんかじゃない。酒によっての過ちだ。
まあちょっと待ってください。気分転換に少し歩きませんか？このウイスキーください。夜風がまだまだ冷えますからね。
Oh, come on.
Wow.
No.
リヒャルトはまだ捕まらんのだ。娘と
It's so brilliant though. Like,
I know.
まさかこんな夜更けに会っているとは思えんし。
シュテファン・ヨースの経歴知ってますか？
確か幼い頃は東ベルリン
511キンダーハイムというところ。
Yeah, he's telling him all this because he's gonna kill him.
娘さんには会えそうですか？
なんで知ってるんだ？
さっきお宅で電話されてたのは娘さんですか？会われるんですか？
何なんだお前の目的は？
大学のレポートを書くことです。
そうじゃない。お前が今シューバルトのところにいる目的だ。
Yep. Yep, they're back
Come
up
on.
here. Yep.
Come on. Like, you know he's grounded to one location because of Shuwald, so
あなたは
you don't
お酒
have
に
to
酔って
stick with him
少年を
here.
撃ったと言いましたね。でもおかしいんですよね。僕の調べたところだと、少年を殺害する前にあなたが飲んでいる姿を見かけた人が一人もいないんですよ。あなた少年を撃った時飲んでいなかったじゃないですか。
Whoa. Wow, he's working his
シラフだった。
his
冷
insidious.
静だった。彼を処刑しようと思って冷静に引き金を引いた。
違う。
あの少
Holy
年の罪
crap.
は確定していましたか？あなたに彼を処刑する権利はありますか？嘘をつけばあなたの罪がなくなると思いますか？
Come
It's
on.
over.
そんな重い罪を犯した人間が立派に立ち直ったような顔をして娘さんに会うんですか？
Oh, the sound right
I
there.
know,
That
I
was
know.
genius. Holy crap.
Ah,
Yeah.
Come on.
どうです？
Come on.
飲みませんか？
警察です。あなたの患者のリヒャルト・ブラウンが死にました。
Yeah. Yeah. Freaking A. Come on. See what's funny about this is, guys, yeah, I'm sorry. I can't help but kind of chuckle at this because, like, we knew this was coming.
Yes,
Like,
we did. I know.
And, like, I've found it really interesting to see, like, how he, like, set up the sequence of events that brought him to this place. In a lot of ways, Richard's actions that brought him closer to his actual demise were because probably of Johann's actual meddling. So, in some ways, I find it like really like disturbing. But my reaction to the disturbing elements of it is just,
Right, yeah, because
it's like, well, it's exactly
here's-
what we thought. The minute he
here's-
was introduced to the story, he was dead.
No, I know, but
He was
here's what I
dead.
think it is. Here's what I think it is. Because you know how you don't really like things to mess with you emotionally, right?
Yeah.
I think because of that, since you knew that he was going to die, right, you kind of had him written off in your mind,
Yep.
right? So
Oh, yeah.
even while they were doing all these things to make you care about him, make you cheer for him, and all that stuff,
Oh yeah, I was cheering with him. I cared about him.
But then
But
you're
once
like,
he started
okay.
dying, I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, once Johann, comes within 5 feet of him, you're like, all right, bye bye.
Yep.
And it's just okay. Like this is where one of those things where I would just wish
Right.
that people would have a bit more self-doubt with things like this, right? To hedge their bets and things like that. Because no, I completely get that he's wanting to get information from him. That totally makes sense. He's physically superior. Yeah, Johann wouldn't be able to actually kill him. And he doesn't know that Johann is able to have this effect on somebody,
Yep,
right?
yep,
Right?
yep.
So yes, absolutely. But there's still and Johann would be so good at making him stay there, right? He'd know how to do all those things to do that.
Yep.
To bait him so that way yeah, right, he kills him.
It's a seduction. It's a seduction
it
where
absolutely is.
where
yes.
basically you start by like appealing to the ego. You want to do research,
Yep.
with the things
Yep.
like that. Then you go and you start systematically, basically seeding specific words into the vernacular so that they end up impressing those words upon themselves. The execution that you did, I am an executioner.
Right. Well, and also by doing that in such a way of making it be subtle and having that excuse of, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to offend and all that stuff. I'm doing a research paper.
Right.
It makes it so that basically he doesn't see it as much as an attack necessarily, but rather, no, I need to set the record straight. I need to explain, right?
Right.
Which makes it so that he's not just going to be like, I don't think this is going to go very well, so I'm just going to go and then, address it later, right?
Well,
because I
also-
know he's going to stay around Schuld.
Also, Johann traps him into the verbal argument of trying to explain to someone he doesn't need to explain to
Exactly,
why
yeah.
he's innocent.
Right.
So that Johann
Yep,
now is being given the power to determine whether or not he's innocent. So then when Johann brings him up to the roof and he starts stating all these things to show that, no, you're anything but innocent.
Right.
You're anything but this. He shuts down his ability to even debate in this whole side of things.
Because he basically manipulated the focus of the argument,
Yep.
right? As it's kind of the reverse of in 8th Mile when Eminem when Eminem starts his rap by saying this, saying all the negative things about himself and then going into the positives, and all that stuff. And because of that, he's operating from a position of strength, right? They can't attack his weak points because he's already acknowledged them.
Yep.
But by basically making it in such a way so that Richard is going to try and defend his weak points, right, and not focus on the positives in his actual place of strength that he has.
Exactly.
It ends up completely dismantling everything, and
then all he needs is just to leave him on a roof with the bottle of whiskey, and he'll do the rest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's brilliant.
Yep.
It's sadistically brilliant. Like, I love that on this episode, we finally actually got to see how Johann does it.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. Like, it's absolutely disturbing and disgusting.
Yep.
But the thing is, I'm able to separate this from that because this is a story, for one. But also, when you think about what Johann is doing, is he's talking to someone.
Yeah.
But what he's actually doing is he's making someone give up trust
in themselves,
and giving it over to Johann.
Right.
Basically, a way to look at it would be, instead of actually the trust angle, is basically saying that you put my value of you over your own value of you.
Yep.
So what Johann then does is then builds them up, but takes ownership of their value.
Exactly. So
and then crumbles it.
Right, because if
at
you
a very specific time and place.
Exactly, because if you were to completely just attack their value of themselves, right? Then that'd be no good. They'd turn away. They'd be like, "Yeah, I don't have to deal with you."
Yeah.
But by undermining and supporting, what ends up happening is they come to depend on his value of them, because he's the one that's, basically reinforcing them, even though, because they don't he undermines them in such a way that they don't basically clue in that he's just undermining me and then reinforcing me, right?
Yep.
Because it's those same questions that they maybe ask themselves.
Right.
So
it's class like Machiavellianism. Like like there's subtle elements, I would say, of other stuff in there as well. But like, some, I don't know. I don't have enough information to go on to those things. But basically by manipulating the person to be dependent on Johann's opinions of them in such a short amount of time,
when he already knows that you're a killer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Right.
Because I look at this and I go, yeah, Richard was dead the minute Johann walked and knocked on his door. But he was even more dead, like, before this. Like,
exactly, because here's the Machiavellian thing. Richard was probably set up to kill the person by Johann as a way to clear out the person, one, that he was using for killings, but also setting up, this is the crazy thing.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I'll kill this guy later, right? But I can use this circumstance of how I got him to kill this other guy, right?
Sure.
Because I know that at some point when I'm dealing with Schuld and I'm needing to kill more people, there's going to be an investigation that will start, right? He'll hire some private investigator, and I've orchestrated that this guy will now be in the private sector. I can arrange for them to meet or whatever so that he hires this guy. Yeah. And then, once I make Schuld believe that it's all in the clear, the investigator I'll still need to take care of, right? By having it be this guy, I can use this thing that I've set up and have him kill himself in a way that people could actually believe it was suicide, even though when the body count of suicides end up racking up that high all around a specific person, you kind of, even the dumbest police officers have to start questioning.
But see, no, like that's the thing. They're not suicides. Like, a majority of them are accidents. like a majority of the ones that have been brought up recently, you know, by the investigation of all the deaths that have happened to Schuold's acquaintances and connections in the last 4 years.
Sure.
A majority of them aren't suicides.
Yeah.
Theron was actually the most overt death suicide, and it drew, I would say, the majority of people around the plot. So I think Johann, in specific instances, by having it be alcohol, having a guy drink on a roof with alcohol, that's not suicide. No, he just was drinking along the roof and just, I fell.
Well, okay, but regardless, you still have the Thursday boy, if his name was Farron. Yeah, Farron.
Fehran, I believe.
Right. And then you have Richard, who are both connected to Schuold, that die within, you know, days of each other.
Farron wasn't connected to Schuold in a literal sense. He was. I meant that
he was working for the guy.
Working for the guy. Right.
Richard was working for the guy. You know, so there's two employees, you know, private employees of someone that die, right, within days of each other. That's like, even if you say that it's suicide or something like that, that is going to stick out like a sore thumb to any cop worth his salt.
Right. I don't think it's going to stick out like a sore thumb to, like you say, like any cop, because I don't think that any of these look like foul play to the cops.
It doesn't matter. People don't die that quickly. Like
what?
Like that.
Suicide is suicide. Like there's no murder involved from a cop's perspective in either of these.
Caleb.
Yes.
Listen to what I am saying.
Okay.
How often do people commit suicide?
Do you actually know the numbers? Because
I don't either. I don't know the numbers either, but it's not very common, I'm guessing, right? It's more common than we might think or whatever, and it could happen a lot.
Yeah.
But in a specific location with people specifically associated with a person, especially someone that's very wealthy, so there could potentially be motive if there was foul play, to have two of them kill themselves or have it be an accident or whatever, but to have two of them die within days of each other.
Right.
That looks suspicious. Now, because of the time, they might not have all the information where they might not like put two and two together because, I don't know, records or something. But
I think the main thing is that if you're not looking for foul play, what they'll end up going, oh, this is horrible. I think it's when you have one of them that has the slightest bit of evidence of any kind of foul play, like even the slightest bit. I think if anything, you're right in that it will cause suspicion, but it won't cause suspicion as to we're going to open an investigation. The suspicion will then go towards kind of the other people that are connected to both of them, not just Schuold, because Schuold has nothing to gain from this. But
I mean, Schuold is the only connection.
No, Carl is connected to both of them.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, he wasn't really connected to the inspector. I mean, the inspector asked them some questions at some point. So, yeah, there is a connection. But the point is, here's the other thing. If Carl is connected, that means Johann's connected. If they're able to make the connection that it's not just Schuold necessarily, but people near him, then Johann is just as much a part of that suspicion as Carl is. Which makes it seem strange that Johann would do this, as opposed to, like, I guess trying to find a way to lure him somewhere else completely so that, say, because of the lack of information, the police that handle it didn't handle the Farron's death.
I think,
something like that.
I think I'm with you, but I think you're grossly overestimating the ability of
Johann?
No, the cops in general.
Okay.
I think that one of the things that's a point of Richard's character was that he was going after something on a hunch.
Yes.
He was not going after something based on material evidence.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just not what cops do. That's like just going after things based off on hunches, you know?
Okay. I'm not asking whether what he did was something a cop would do.
No. I'm meaning that, like, that no cop worth his salt would look at this and go, oh, this is... Well, basically, you say that a cop worth his salt, or any cop, would look at this situation and go, wasn't there another death of someone associated with Schuold recently? This looks suspicious. I think that even if they'd said, like, this looks suspicious and stuff, they might do a round of questions and stuff, but they won't find anything. I just...
Okay, they might not find anything, but if they say talk to his counselor, which would be You know,
Yes,
that would be
that's
an
my
obvious
point.
person to talk to.
That's-
Did he seem suicidal?
Right,
He
I
could
think
be
that's-
like, oh, we were actually doing this investigation of this murderer named Johann, and that he's over here with Shual because of these things, and we were, all this stuff was happening, and then we come back and he's dead. Oh, and we suspect that he might be able to get people to kill themselves. That would be far-fetched. I might not believe that, but the point is that there's still a ton of stuff that would happen. So if this is something where it ends up getting swept under the rug, I will be disappointed.
Okay, I don't think it's being like that. I'm saying that those deaths don't matter in the grand scheme of the investigation. People are alive that know about Johann. So forget their deaths. They're horrible. But in terms of the investigation side of things, all these other people that are alive need to do is start saying, like, we suspect Johann.
Right. And
they don't need to look at it and be a cop worth their salt. All they need is to literally have the counselor who's getting brought to the police and saying, Richard is dead. Yeah. He's like, I think Johann did it. They'll be like, who the hell is Johann?
Right.
And then
exactly.
just says, this person, here's all my information, go for it. I think that's enough. You don't need to say, like, well, these deaths, independent of all that stuff, clearly point towards a suspicious behavior.
No, I was basically just saying that if the counselor, say, wasn't necessarily wanting to go to the police immediately because he was scared or whatever, this is the kind of thing where it would make sense for the police to come to him and say, hey, this...
They literally came to him and said, your buddy's dead, and then we cut the episode. So,
right. No, I know.
So that could happen in the very next episode.
Yes, but there's a difference between saying, hey, the person that you worked with is dead, and saying, just to double check, you were his counselor, do you think this was suicide? Anyways, besides the point, this episode was amazing. The direction was absolutely fantastic. When Johann finally pulled out the bottle of whiskey, that was...
Yeah. So this episode also hit on a very specifically cool thing with the kid, the daughter of not Shuald, wow, Richard, and having her essentially be the final nail in the coffin of Richard. Basically, like once she was brought in as being like a potential thing that he could see her again, you could almost see how this whole episode was actually about just kind of kids. And
I still think Johann might have a connection to the...
Oh, there's a very real possibility there. But I think that's also, again, just like it's a non-relevant thing.
Right,
Richard's
they don't need to
now.
explain it or not or whatever.
Yeah. So with that, when you see the hope coming into the guy's eyes, there's something about Johann that denotes that he is pure evil. There's this element about him that he is too perfect and too pretty and too like...
Right, well, and with the stuff they know about him, that it's like, that guy's...
Oh, right. But my thing is that there's a connotation to evil where when you have a good person that is basically like on the road to finding their victory over evil, one of the things that comes the closest part before any kind of a despairing defeat is a little bit of hope. And I think that the story choosing to give Richard a little bit of hope was basically reminding us in some ways how much in control Johann is over this whole situation, is that it makes you suspect Johann actually having influence of it because I think
it's the Fate Zero caster deal.
Yes, because I think on some level in the back of our minds we think that Johann has to revel in this, like he has to enjoy this. So because him basically being like, Richard's dead, I don't even need to worry about him. Like I've got my whole plan and everything worked out. Of course, then if he was pure evil, he would give that little element of hope, and then he would even mock him by being like, "Oh, that was your daughter. Do you think you'll ever see her again?" And he's like, "How the hell do you know about that?" It denotes this thing where Johann is just enjoying this, and we don't see any proof of that. But we, at least for me, I think
it's something where it causes the audience to question and think about what's happening on screen even after they've finished watching the episode, which is great as far as just increasing enjoyment.
Yeah, I just have to give a shout out to this episode for just doing that well.
But here's the other thing that could also be a strategy thing for Johann, because if you think about it, in order for someone to get to the point where they're going to kill themselves, right, they have to be in a very low place, right? the lowest place they've ever been. And especially in the case where the person that is basically bringing you to that place to kill yourself is also someone that you know to be a murderer.
Right.
Building up that hope, that can be the most sure way to make it so that when they fall down from that, it's going from a high to the lowest of lows.
In the simplest mathematic terms, it's a longer fall distance.
Exactly.
It's kind of a sick way to look at it, but it is. So.
Yeah, and you want them to fall so that they don't pick themselves back up, once they fall. In a literal and
figurative
metaphorical sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to just combat a little bit. It doesn't matter whether or not it was an intentional suicide from Richard's part. Johann knew that if he brought alcohol at that level back into his life, even if he wasn't guilt-ridden enough to basically, just go and jump.
It could be something as simple as Johann pushing him. Yeah.
As simple as Johann pushing him, or even as simple as him basically like having a look out, over the city, and being like, "What have I done?" And then just drunkenly like falling.
Or
there was a very little railing there. There wasn't like a hand guard thing there. All he had to do was walk towards the edge and be like, "Whoop, drop."
Yep. Yeah.
And he'd be dead. And that building was relatively tall enough to where
you had a spiral staircase going to the top. Like
right. But I mean, like when Carl was brought up to that building before, he had a full view of the city, and you could see the horizon.
Yep.
It was pretty tall.
And okay, what is it with Johann and water tanks?
Oh, water towers, you mean?
Yeah, water towers. Yeah,
little things above the building. That is really curious.
Because he left a message on there, and like
maybe he left another message on this one.
Sure. Or by the time Tenma comes around, there will be a new message. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I could totally see that. And this is okay. So this is what I'm really curious about, because more and more people are starting to know about Johann, right? The fact that they had the
Gillen.
Yeah, Gillen basically talk with Richard's counselor and actually exchange information. It wasn't just, hey, what was the data on that guy, that name that he talked about? Yeah. But the fact that they had back and forth there, and the fact that the dude killed himself and all that stuff. So, it's basically making things concrete so that now that Richard's gone, they're like, okay, yeah, this is a serious problem. They could get killed off before Tenma arrives, I guess. But if they don't, and even if they do, that leaves a different trail. But if they aren't, then those are basically characters that Tenma could interact with to try and better basically get a game plan going for how he's going to take out Johann.
Yes. I'm totally with you. Yeah. I am very worried as to the timing of whenever Tenma arrives, though.
Right.
I feel like it's not actually a question of whether or not he's going to arrive and they're going to be dead. I think that when Tenma arrives, they will all be dead. Like, all the relevant people will be dead. And I think that that's Johann's intent. Like, he will put this all on Tenma again. Like, Tenma's body count will end up just continually stacking up.
Well, and it's also something where Johann is eliminating people that know about him, even just people that have rumors about him. Because if you think about Dr. Gillen, right? He had a rumor about Johann.
Yep.
Not only did Johann orchestrate to have the person that was the source of the rumor about Johann, other than Tenma, die.
Right.
But now Gillen is not only aware, which puts him higher on the chopping block, but he's also spatially in that general area. So
also
there's that too.
Also, the guy that killed himself, that was the murderer, that drew over Johann's blonde hair and stuff. Yeah. That's going to go into some level of news. Like, that's going to go outside the prison. So Johann's going to know about it, and that person has when you see my picture or when someone brings me up again and they're on the trail, you have to kill yourself kind of trigger in him.
Okay, yeah.
I think at the very least, Johann will know that once that person killed themselves, that there's someone else out there connected to him that knows about his identity.
Right.
So,
well, and if he,
because he wouldn't bring it up intentionally. He's so scared of Johann ever.
Right.
So I think that also puts another death flag over Dr. Gillen.
But here's the thing that just made, like, okay, everything we saw with Johann of the execution, no pun intended, of how he basically got Richard to kill himself, or how he got him drunk enough so that he could kill him without worry or whatever. That was terrifying and that was scary.
Yeah.
But scarier for me was watching the guy not stab himself in the head with the pen,
Draw over.
but scribble. Because at first I thought he was scribbling over Johann's face, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to see this.
Right.
But he was specifically scribbling over Johann's hair.
Yeah, which is like, okay,
Like,
you're right though.
like,
whatever disguise theory you have, it's definitely right.
Because
yeah.
here's the thing. We've seen how good Johann is at manipulating people, and also, what's one of the other things? While he's very handsome, he has a very sort of, like, generic face,
He does.
right? He doesn't
does.
have defining features other than maybe that he's handsome, right?
Yep.
And the fact that he scribbled over his hair, that makes me very worried. That makes me very, very worried.
Yep.
Because if Johann could be anywhere looking like anybody under any name, that's an issue.
Oh, that's a huge issue.
That is a big issue.
There's a lot of stories out there where you have the character who you're always afraid that they're watching, but usually in those stories it's some kind of technology, some kind of aspect there. But with Johann, his whole character is built up to be a presence rather than an actual, human being. Well, what's even scarier about that whole buildup is that what they could be doing by this is seeding again. I think you're 100% right. Is that he really could be anywhere and anyone, and the presence aspect is what you're supposed to feel. That is what the guy in the prison is afraid of.
Exactly.
He is probably so paranoid and afraid of Johann that he doesn't know that maybe even, this is crazy, but he doesn't even know that even if Dr. Gillen is Johann or not. That's a stretch. That's a stretch.
But yeah, he's not exactly in the best psychological state.
No, of course not. But I think that's what we as the audience, it's a little bit meta breaking, is that we as the audience are meant to feel that way, is that after this point, we will now look at every character that's newly brought up that has a pretty face.
Uh-huh.
Not necessarily like anyone, but we'll be like, okay, no, that scar there, wait, Johann could have scarred himself. That kind of a thing.
Here's the other thing. Who's our favorite dark-haired person in this show?
Tenma. Yeah.
Immediately, when I saw him drawing dark hair on Johann, I thought Tenma. Because Tenma is the one that's so far been being blamed for all of Johann's murders, right? Or at least the ones people know about, the serial middle-aged couples,
Sure. What if Johann has been going around in a Tenma disguise?
I mean, who knows?
Doing all this stuff.
I mean, granted, okay, Johann is German. Tenma is Japanese, right? There's a disconnect there. But it was just one of those unsettling things. Yeah, who knows?
Makeup can do a lot.
Smart. Yeah, he could probably pull it off. But because it's the idea that Johann wants to basically erase his existence, and right now his existence is all kind of pinned to Tenma. So if Tenma is the last linchpin, whatever, the last leg holding up the roof, whatever, however you want to call it,
right?
And he basically was setting up some way to make it all fall on Tenma in some big crescendo.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty terrifying and insane.
I do think, though, that he's already done enough damage to Tenma's reputation that no one would trust what Tenma would say unless they're really close people like Dr. Gillen.
Right.
But the thing is that Dr. Gillen is kind of an example of a really cool leak in where Johann is ultimately alone in all of this. Mm-hmm. He is going to manipulate people, but the thing is Tenma is going to have a rippling effect by saving people, by going and doing his thing.
Right.
Where
he's the anti-Johann.
Right. Well, he will eventually have a bunch of people on his side, like Dr. Gillen, that maybe Johann won't see.
Sure.
Because he won't be able to predict them.
Because what I was terrified about was as soon as they talked about the counselor basically sending the letter correspondence, is what if Johann basically found out about that? It's a paper trail,
right? It's a paper trail, yeah.
Right, exactly. Because they don't have cell phones with call history or anything like that.
Right. So making the phone call, it's safe.
Yeah,
there,
unless the phone
companies,
or the phone companies or something.
Yeah.
Then you're pretty much good, right?
Yeah.
But with the paper trail, that means that Johann doesn't even have to be figuring it out right at that minute.
Nope.
Nope. He could figure it out later if he finds out about the counselor, right? Because maybe Richard was drunk. He might know about the counselor already, right? Yep. And he's like, oh, okay. All right, awesome. I'll pay that guy a visit. He pays that guy a visit, and then he can find the paper trail or whatever, or however it ends up working. because you need to figure out, you need to guard your bases, you need to have, diversify and make sure that you don't lose those pockets of information. I don't know.
Yeah. I love how this episode kind of unraveled you also as well. Like
it was one of those things where, again, just because you know how the story, what's that Cinder line? Just because you know how the story ends doesn't make it any less interesting to watch.
Oh, come now. Just because you know how a story ends, that doesn't make it any less enjoyable to watch.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is the great example of that, of also showing versus telling, right?
Right.
Because this was the first time we really saw Johan work his dark voodoo
flex
magic.
His influence, yeah.
Uh-huh. And the way they did it, the way they pulled it off was fantastic. All the build up with like the staticky stuff that was kind of par for the course for Monster, but what it really was, I feel like, was to basically prime us so that when the actual scary stuff started happening, it had the proper effect. That whole part with him just pulling out the bottle of whiskey.
Well, that's a sound thing again as well. Like, did you hear how they emphasized the liquid in the whiskey?
Yeah.
They emphasized the sound of the glass, like kind of turning in his hand while
and just the way they drew it, like I'm pretty sure they upped the frame rate right there and all that stuff. Like
they did it with the murderer guy in the prison with Dr. Gillen.
Yeah, that
when
was,
like his face like kind of was distorted,
and the way they did the same distorted like frame. Well, actually, it was more of the background. It wasn't on Johan. Actually,
it was on the
background. Just on the background, and that was just like
it's those little things to emphasize what fear does to the mind.
Exactly,
it distorts your perception. It warps your reality. And it's crazy. Like I feel a little bit weird in that I was like smiling throughout like this whole thing
because of my reaction to it, basically.
Well, because of your reaction to it, but also because like I have been so excited to see
how Johan does it,
how this whole thing would work, and I didn't think this show would be competent enough in order to actually make it believable.
Well, and here's something though.
And
this is something that's good to point out, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just the fact that he made this guy kill himself, but he made someone kill themselves that was not the kind of person that you would expect to, right? They like, because with other people, right, if they were already like, say, some like crazy murderer or whatever, granted he did kill a guy, but it would be a lot easier to basically play on their emotions, I would think, to get the self-hatred going or whatever, to cause them to kill themselves, or just work on their psychological instability. But with this guy, one of the things they did is they seeded the idea that maybe this was prepped 4 years ago, right? Which is, now they did it very well, because it made it seem like that doesn't have to be the case, right? Johan still could have gotten him to kill himself,
sure,
even if he hadn't set everything up all along.
He could have just winged it.
Exactly, he could have winged it, whatever, right? He didn't have to know that he actually killed the dude.
Right, he might have actually intended to kill him with the car running him over.
Right, yeah, because
all of those were accident potential things, like the steel, the beam falling from the construction site.
Exactly, yeah.
And Johan's just like, why am I surrounded by idiots? And he's just like, fine,
I'll do it myself.
Do something right. Do it yourself.
Right.
And like that could have been it. And I like that that's there, in that this isn't all perfectly going according to Johan's Keikaku all the time.
But he knows how to roll with the punches, like, because that's the thing
adaptable.
That's the thing that makes a Machiavellian type character more believable,
right?
Because nothing ever goes, no plan survives contact with the enemy, right?
True.
But when you can adapt to the plan, so that, like, say if you have to get from point A to point D, right? And at the part of going from point A to point B, right, you're like, there's some trouble there. The plan doesn't really work. You adjust it, and you still figure out a way to get from point A to point B. And then you're point B to point C, and, you do the same thing in point C to point D. Even though going from point A to point D might have seemed completely ridiculous and all that stuff from the beginning, because you're able to navigate and sort of play the waters and all that stuff, getting from each point to each point, you're able to get way farther than would seem to be possible.
You know what it is? It's a really good DM plot railing the party and not actually letting them be aware that they're being plot railed.
Yeah. Congratulations, John. You made them think it was their idea.
Yep. Whew.
Oh,
guys,
boy.
It has been a while since I have had a proper Machiavellian villain in a story that I believed was capable of all this.
Right.
And that's the thing. There's very few villains like that.
Yep.
I think actually Lost has a couple of them like that. But like Ben Linus or something. But specifically with Johan here, this is one of the most terrifyingly well-written villains I've ever seen. And a lot of it is larger than life. A lot of it is kind of like you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit.
Right.
But with the presentation of the show to back it up, you are genuinely afraid of Johan.
Right, because here's the thing.
You just are.
I feel like the most terrifying thing of Johan is not his ability to strategize, but it's his ability to observe. Because a lot of the strategizing that he does, it's something that I could see a lot of people being able to come up with if they were able to see basically the weak points, the shatter points earlier, right?
Callback.
To set up things like, okay, getting him to kill the guy because he's thinking about his daughter, and here's this, murdering rapist, and he's like, I'm going to kill him, right?
Yeah.
And then, have him play it off because of alcohol, right? And then use it later and all that stuff and bring it back and make him feel guilty and everything and get him to drink, and then from there it's easy. That's something that I could see anyone really doing if they basically, with enough focus and time, right? But what's scary is that he was able to notice stuff like that. Right?
Or the equally terrifying thing that is constantly in the back of my mind is that Johan has eyes that aren't his own, and they are under his control. They are doing things for him.
Sure.
There's a very real kind of buildup of the presence of Johan by the feeling that he seems to be everywhere.
Right.
Like he just seems to be everywhere and nowhere.
Exactly.
And this is the kind of thing that I think that Johan intentionally does by letting certain people know about him, so that when Johan came to the door of Richard, maybe the reasons why he was basically attempting to kill him and they didn't succeed is that they weren't meant to succeed, so that once Richard was there, he had just enough uneasiness about this guy that he wasn't ever physically threatened. He didn't feel physically threatened by him.
But it was basically the idea of, I have to stay close to this, keep your friends close and your enemies closer type thing. Yeah, sure. That could absolutely be
and then basically anyone that gets on Johan's scent has just enough fear that they're like, I don't want the spider to leave my gaze. I'm watching you. And Johan's like, yes, just keep all your attention on me.
Because they don't realize he's been here for a while, and when Johan's in a location, he sets up his webs, right?
Yep.
And they don't realize, they're like, okay, I can see the spider right there, but they don't realize just how deep into the webs they are.
Yep.
Right?
That's a great way to describe it.
And there's
too.
almost no way out. Like, any way they move, they're getting tangled up in something, right?
Yeah.
Like the police officers. I don't think he had to basically, it wasn't like, oh, I need to kill, I need to kill the Fortners. All right, cool. So I'll go befriend some police officers. No. Yeah, he's like, okay, so I've got my list of 24 police officers. These ones are free tonight. All right, cool.
Go.
Yeah.
So it's a great execution of a fantastic build-up for an incredible story.
I know we knew he was gonna die, but I wanted Richard to.
I love that you emotionally reacted to it, but I feel a little bit like a psychopath in that I knew he was dead a long time ago.
I know, but that doesn't make it any easier.
The weird thing for me, though,
in this case,
because I'm with you in that I'm surprised this happened right now, is I thought Carl was gonna die long before Richard was gonna die.
No, but that's the crazy thing, is that he didn't need to kill off Carl. He already resolved that whole plot line. Carl is not the main character of this arc anymore. It might have started with him, and it might even end with him.
It probably will.
But he's out of the way. He's CC'd Carl for now, and he's taking care of Shul.
And if he needs to deal with him, he already seeded the roof, just like...
And he also probably has a lot. Maybe she wouldn't be capable,
Lot is one of those characters that they just kind of forgot to have really do anything. It seems like she was just there to set up the introduction.
Right, set up the plot and everything.
Or be a sounding board, really, for Carl. Because I remember, thinking way back when,
that she was influenced by Johan.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it is. And the fact that they made that mysterious and left it up in the air is brilliant, because then they can use her basically as just a plot mechanic, right? Of giving exposition, bouncing, being a soundboard for Carl so that he can exposit to the audience and pushing the plot along in the direction that they want.
And maybe she was an encouraging motivator to bring the eventual heir
Absolutely,
of Shuold
sure.
to him with confidence, rather than having them be like, I'm too nervous.
Exactly.
So
right. Yeah.
then she might be unintentionally under Johan's manipulation.
But Johan doesn't need her right now.
No,
he doesn't need her anymore. He doesn't need to deal with Carl or Shuold or whatever.
Success.
Mission success, right? They're still there. They still know he exists. But that's fine. The fact that he was able to make Shuold so blind, like, not literally, but so basically closed off to the idea of, hey, there might still, I think someone murdered the Farron guy, and he's still out there. We should find him. And the fact that now Richard is going to be dead, and I'm pretty sure Shuold won't care about it either, because it's the happy lie that he's finally gotten his son back, which he has, but he doesn't want to basically rock the boat,
Yeah.
And that's, boy.
Yep.
Yeah.
In some ways, Shuold has kind of already died.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Great episode.
Amazing episode.
Fantastically good stuff going on in here. Terrifyingly good stuff. If you want to see the next episode's reaction right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us about crazy Johan stuff. I mean, non-spoilery, of course.
Right.
Whatever. And if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we are Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.